All right, we have Jared Gordon joining us right now. It's been an interesting week for this man and probably an interesting couple of months for this man, just like the rest of us with everything going on these days. He was scheduled to compete on May 16th at the event originally scheduled to take place in San Diego against Matt Sales, but things are pretty wild right now, aren't they, Jared? How are you, man?
Yeah, they sure are. Doing well. Like you said, I was supposed to fight May 16th, but the event location was changed and canceled, and then it was put back on in Jacksonville. Then my opponent, Matt, pulled out, which I can't even blame him for because of all the craziness going on. I don't know what his circumstances as far as training and life in general are. Who knows, maybe he knows someone close or maybe himself got sick. You never know. Can't really call anyone out for pulling out of fights right now. But yeah, it's been crazy. I've been training as much as I can, as hard as I can, and that's all I've been really doing. I train and then I just come home and stare at my phone or Netflix. Have my fiance yell at me. And that's been that's been the last 2-3 months.
So what's the Netflix game like right now? What have your continued watchings or your trendings looking like right now? What's the go-to? What's your recommendation?
I mean, I've been watching a lot of movies. I watched what's it called? The Vault with Chaz Palminteri the other day. That was all right. I haven't really been watching too many series. I'm usually like a big Sopranos. I'll rewatch Sopranos over and over and over, or The Wire, or Oz. But the shows nowadays are garbage. I watch Tiger King because everyone was talking about it, and for me, yeah, it was funny. It was a crazy story, but it really wasn't that appealing as far as like how much joy I got out of it. It was kind of just like filled my brain with worthless information, and but that's it really. Just I find random shows and I watch. Actually, you know what I've been forced to watch is Gossip Girl. This is my fiance. She started it all over. She watched it before, I think, and so I'm like, who's that guy and who the hell is she? And I hate everyone on this show. They're all just like rich people, and all they're complaining about is who they're banging next or like how much money this person has. And so it's been quite uneventful for me, actually.
There you go. I have not watched 1 second of Tiger King yet. Not one. I'm not doing it. I'm not buying into the hype, man. I can't.
It's not amazing, I'll tell you that much.
I mean, when you think about everything, being quarantined and everything, like it's pretty easy to think about yourself and like how it affects us and our families and things like that. But your story has been well documented with recovery from drug addiction, getting everything together. It's really been an incredible ride for you. But during a time like this, oftentimes people forget that those that are in recovery, no matter what stage they're in, and this hits a little close to home for me, having watched family members go through recovery, even one as of late. But how difficult is this time for someone that has been working so hard to go from one day to the next, stick to a routine, and try to stay on track and have everything just completely change around them?
Well, I think in the beginning stages of recovery, and if you're new to the programs or you're just getting out of rehab or something like that, it's definitely going to be tough for you. I think it can work both ways. You can either use this time to get like a foundation under you and keep yourself away from all of the negative stuff, or you could like hoard all the alcohol and drugs that you can and try to ride out the pandemic. But yeah, you definitely need to hold yourself accountable and stay in communication with people that are also in recovery. They have AA and NA on Zoom meetings, so there's meetings all day long. There's no excuse for not making a meeting because they're all over the internet. Literature, and of course your higher power, if that's what you believe in. But yeah, I mean, it could be bad. I'm hearing that overdoses and relapse rates are up, and I could see why easily. People, losing their jobs. There's nothing to do besides sit around. So boredom, depression, loneliness, all sorts of reasons. But in recovery, you're taught to deal with life on life's terms. So, yeah, this could be bad for some people. It could be good for others, but you got to make it. You got to make it for whatever you have to do for yourself, because no matter what, shitty things are going to happen. One day you're going to drive down the road, you're going to get a flat tire. The next day, your wife's going to cheat on you, or you might lose in a fight, or you might get injured, and there's so many reasons, and that's just life. That's how life is. Life is gonna come. My mom used to always say to me, no matter what you do, shitty things are gonna happen. So why make it shittier than it has to be? So you just gotta roll with the punches, for me, figuratively and literally.
I know a lot of people reach out to you for guidance and motivation who are in recovery or on the road to it, at least. Have you seen, your messages, your DMs increase over the last month or so?
Actually, the last couple of days they've been coming in. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes I'm getting tons of people. Like some kid from Indonesia messaged me the other day and said, "Hey, I'm from Indonesia. I have a drug problem. What did you do?" And people that are in recovery message me all the time just to, talk about recovery and thanking me for, using my platform. But yeah, I get mixed messages. People that are doing well, people that are struggling, people that are like newly sober, people that have years of sobriety. So I get a variety. The whole point of fighting, what I've come to realize, is like to use the platform to do this work. And because, fighting is obviously, I want to be UFC champion as an athlete, as a competitor, to make a living. The goal is to get to the top. But I think that's just going to be a small part of my story. So, when I was younger, I used to go to school, and I had to take the subway to school because I lived in Queens, and I always thought I fucking hate school. I don't want to go to school today. There's something bigger. I could feel that there's something bigger than this. And I remember being in my senior year, getting on the subway and being like, I'm not going to college anyway, so what the fuck do I need to finish high school for? I did it anyways, but I always felt like there was something bigger. And then I found fighting, and I got, I did what I did. I got into UFC, and literally yesterday, I was driving in my car from wrestling. I had an awesome day of training. In the morning, I ran 6.5 miles to strength and conditioning. I did strength and conditioning, then I ran 6.5 miles home, and then I wrestled super hard at night. And I was driving back, and I was like, well, that was a productive fucking day. And in that moment, I felt, yeah, I'm going to do well fighting, but I thought it was fighting that was the big thing, but there's still something else. And fighting is just going to be part of my story. I love fighting. I love competing. I don't think I've shown my potential at all, unfortunately, yet. My true potential, at least. And I think the time is now as far as fighting. I'm 31. I think I'm gonna do really well in the next couple of years. I know I'm gonna do really well in the next couple of years. And but there's something bigger after this. I know it. I feel it in my bones. So that's where I'm at right now.
What does that feel like? Kind of getting that sort of mental message sent your way that that something bigger, you have a bigger purpose here, that something big might be happening for you that's not just about wins and losses in the octagon, but what those things can lead to?
It's very, it feels good, and you're like, I'm eager. I want to learn things, new things. But like, I'm not sure. Sometimes I don't know how to like displace the energy. I think I use like training as a lot of my ways of like meditation and endurance training. Like I love endurance. I love running long and hard, and like, but I don't know like where I'm going yet or which way I'm supposed to go. So all I can do is what I can do right now, positively, obviously, to get to the next moment, to see what comes my way. But I know it's coming, and I'm just trying to embrace everything and learn from every second and improve every day, and whether it's just fighting or life or my relationships or whatever it is. So I look at a lot of fighters, and sometimes I'm like, wow, this guy's a fucking jerk off, this guy's an asshole. And but I shouldn't think that way, because I know they're all athletes and they're competitors, but I feel like a lot of guys are, like, for them, fighting is only about winning and being the best. And I heard an interview with George the other day, and he was saying, like, when he was younger, he wanted to be known as the best fighter ever. But when he got older, he realized, like, I'll never be the best. I'll only be the best guy that night against that one person in that one moment, where if they fought again, I mean, Matt Serra knocked him out, and then they fought again and he beat him. So, like, yeah, like, you lose someone or you beat someone, that doesn't mean tomorrow he's not going to kick your ass. So, like, for me, yeah, obviously I want to be a completely successful fighter and be the best and blah, blah, blah. But I try not to be so small-minded, I guess, see the bigger picture and everything, which has taken me years and a lot of ups and downs. And I'm still going through it, obviously, and I always will go through ups and downs and highs and lows. But, man, like, when I get that feeling, I'm like, I just try to embrace it and say, all right, something's coming in, just keep being positive, keep helping other people, because that's the biggest thing I think you can do, is help other people in any situation. And these good things will come.
That's great, man. I did want to shout out an incredible piece from my colleague Damon Martin. He spoke with Isaac Vallier-Flagg about his struggles with addiction, and it's it's a must read. So please check that out if you're watching right now. But you're celebrating over 4 years sobriety right now. Congratulations on that. I don't know if you want to really get into this or not, but you did make a post recently on Instagram about being over 4 years sober in the 4th month of the year, and then you made reference to your favorite number, which is 444. What is the significance of that number, if you don't mind me asking?
So I had 4 years sober, 4 years and 4 months sober in the 4th month of the year. So 444. In the last couple of weeks and months, that number, everywhere I go, is there. I turned to a page in the book, 444. This morning, I swear on my life, this morning I was looking at my diet plan and, like, what I'm going to eat. And I was, like, swapping the calories and, like, swapping the foods for different foods. And the meal calorie total was 444. And I was like, oh, well, there it goes again. I look at the fucking clock. Or it's 444, or doesn't matter what I'm doing. Like, there it is, 444 everywhere I go. And so I'm a big believer in God. Over my course of 4 years and 4 months, I've my evolution of my higher power has evolved, and I believe in God. I'm a Jesus follower. So 444 is an angel number, and I used to use my dead friends as my higher powers, and I used to say, I'm doing this for them. I'm gonna go win this fight for Paul, my best friend who died. I'm gonna do this for Butchie, this kid, another friend that died. I'm gonna do this for Paul, another Paul, different Paul that I was really close with that died. And I would always do these things for them. And this is why I'm gonna do this. This is why I'm gonna get sober. This is why I want to help people for them. But I've come to realize that I'm doing it for God. God took them probably to save other people. I heard someone say once, some people have to die for others to live. And I think that's true. When my friend, here comes my fiance, when my friend died, I think he saved a lot of people. Unfortunately, because a lot of people probably got their lives together and realized we can't live like this anymore. And I mean, I truly believe he's partly for why I'm alive. Seeing him die and seeing him in his casket. So this number 444, my fiance's aunt, she's a psychic medium. She has her own TV show on A&E. It's called The Haunting of, right? The Haunting of? Or Celebrity Ghost Stories, I'm sorry. And The Haunting of, she had two of them. Her name's Kim Russo. She's a big psychic medium. She's done Tito Ortiz. She did Paul Abdul. She did Ice-T. We watched, and it's on TV now. It's her new season just came out. And she posted something the other day on the, I think it was the 24th, I guess, or it was 444. A whole post about the number 444, and I was like, everywhere I go, I see this fucking number. So, I don't know. Although 444 was not an anniversary date, because usually you celebrate every year on your sobriety date, another year that's passed by, you're sober for another year. But to me, it has significant meaning. And, we're going through a lot of tough times, so I figured I'd make an inspirational post. So, but yeah, it's just been weird. Everywhere I go, I see that number. It's super strange. And I think that I'm getting messages, that I'm doing the right thing and to keep going. And that's how my brain has evolved so far. Hopefully the evolution is not from getting punched, but from spiritual fitness instead of, brain damage or something. But I think I'm on the right path.
Did I see you posted that your old drug dealer passed away? Is that what I saw?
So today I woke up and, man, I used to hate this motherfucker. Because I would give him, at the end of my addiction, I was giving him all my money, and he would roll up in his BMW and he would give me heroin. I would jump in the car and he would give me his coke and heroin, and then he would have a big gold chain on. And, we're in Queens, so everybody's all fucked out. And, big fitted hat or whatever. And, I can't even blame him because I sold drugs too. I know I've sold drugs to people that have hurt them. I know I have sold drugs to people that are dead. So I can't even fault the guy. And when I look back, my first thought, because I'm still a sick person, when I saw that he died was, good fucking piece of shit. He deserves to die. He's poisoning the community, But then I took a step back and I was like, well, he was just as sick as I was, and he was just trying to get by. And, he lost his life last night. And, it's sad because he just was battling with the same disease that I battle every day, and he lost the battle, So, it's ironic, how, the fiend, me, and would go see him, and I would think, I hate this motherfucker. I should rob him, or I should kick his ass, or and now he's the one that's dead, and I'm the one doing well at the moment for the most part. So, we're all. I was a piece of shit, man. I was a bad person at one point. So, when I see bad people get in trouble or get hurt, I just kind of I count my lucky stars. I've hurt myself plenty of times, and I've hurt other people physically, mentally, and it's like surreal when you see your dealer die, from a drug overdose. How ironic.
Yeah. Whatever it is you're doing, man, keep it up. You're doing great. You're inspiring a lot of people, and you deserve a lot of credit for that. But, let's transition to your fighting career. Like you talked about, you find out Matt Sales is no longer fighting on May 16th, and the UFC is looking for an opponent, and they found someone quickly in Sean Woodson, a Contender Series alum, had that great performance against Kyle Bochniak in Boston back in October. And we saw reports come out on Wednesday that this was going to be the fight, that you were going to fight Sean Woodson. It turned out that was not the case. Can you run us through what happened there from your perspective, from being offered that fight and the discussions that went into it?
So, yeah, Matt pulled out like a day later. This reporter messaged me and said that he asked me if my opponent if I was still fighting. I said, no, my opponent pulled out. And he said, oh, I heard you got a new opponent. And I was like, who? And he mentioned his name. And I was like, oh, I haven't heard anything of it. And then the next day, my manager came to me and said, yeah, this is the guy they're offering. And I was like, well, I told you last night that I'm not going to take that fight because of just the circumstances right now. Obviously, I was training for Matt Sales, 5'7" guy, certain style, and he pulls out like a little less than 3 weeks before the fight. Now they want me to fight a 6'3", 78-inch reach, completely different fighter. I haven't sparred anyone that size in I don't even know when the last time I sparred someone that was 6'3". So, I've never said no to a fight, and in the past I've made some choices that I probably shouldn't have as far as fighting certain guys, where I was taking risks. But at the time, those risks were actually worth the reward. Where at this point in time, fighting Sean, no disrespect to him, is dangerous. Great fighter. He's got one UFC win where, if I win, it's like, okay, you beat a guy with one UFC win. That's what you were supposed to do. If I lose, it looks bad. If he wins, he looks great. If he loses to me, it's like, well, you fought a tough guy who's been in the UFC a lot longer than you. So, chalk it up to that. But the circumstances with this virus, training being compromised, 2-week notice. You don't know what fight week is going to be like with all these new things going on. My first time going to 45 in 3 years, so that takes into a lot of account as far as stylistically fighting, how I'm going to fight, the way I should fight, how the weight cut's going to go. So, yeah, I said no. I have to treat this like a business, just like the UFC treats the business as a business. So if I want to go for longevity, then that's what I'm going to do. My last fight, I was supposed to fight Leo Santos in Brazil, basically his hometown. I said, sure. The guy's been undefeated for like 10 years, jiu-jitsu champion, coming off of knockouts. Sure, I'll take the fight. He pulls out. They offer me Charles Oliveira. You want to fight Charles? Sure. I didn't even think about it. I discussed it with my coach for 5 minutes. Sure. But at that time, I was going to fight Leo Santos, who's kind of similar to Charles, in his hometown. I might as well fight Charles, who's got a way bigger name, same risk, much higher reward. So at the time, the fight made sense to take a fight like that. Didn't go my way. So I can't just take fights. I'm not fighting for paychecks. I don't fight for pay. I'm fighting to be successful and for longevity and to get to the top. I can't just fight to fight. Like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to sell my soul. The truth of the matter is that we're like high-priced prostitutes. We're going to go where we're going to get paid the most, and they're going to say, "Oh, you're going to fight," or if you were a prostitute, you're going to bang this guy, and you're going to get paid this much money. Okay, cool. And then when you're dirty and you have herpes and you're all washed up, they're going to get the next, excuse my language, slut to come in to fight. But that's just the name of the game, and I know that. And so I have to treat this like a business, just like everyone else treats it like a business. Just like my manager treats it like a business and treats his fighters like a business. Just like the UFC treats it like a business. Just like everyone else treats it like a business. I have to do the same thing and make smart choices because I'm trying to last in this. My biggest fear is being mediocre. And thus far, I've had a lot of ups and downs, and I know that I'm more capable than what I've shown on paper. I've taken some tough fights. I've had some weird things happen, some fights where I shouldn't have fought or tough opponents, whatever the case is. But I know and I feel that I'm at where I'm supposed to be at now, at 145, new camp, living in one spot instead of traveling from Florida and Milwaukee or New York to Milwaukee. So I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I don't think there's any coincidences or accidents. I think everything was written and God has me exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Are you trying to stay on that card? Like, has the UFC told you or your management team, like, we get it. Obviously, Sean's a way different kind of a fight, especially on, a little over 2 weeks notice. Let's see if we can find somebody else. Or do you think, you're off May 16th altogether at this point?
No, they're looking. And I'm training like I'm fighting. So, I mean, I'm just going with the flow. I'm not trying to think about the past. I'm not trying to fucking worry about the fucking future. I just want to stay in the moment, do what I can every second to get better. And that's all I can do. I'm just waiting at this point. Like, if I don't hear anything in a couple of days, though, then I'm going to have to say, because, like, I need to know, obviously, and I haven't got any medicals done, because I didn't want to, when they asked me to get medicals for San Diego, and then the whole virus happened, I said, should I even bother getting the medicals? And they said, just hold off for now. Okay, so I didn't get any medicals yet. I don't want to go to the doctors anyways right now with all the freaking patients and contamination or whatever. So, got to find out soon, otherwise then I'm going to have to tell them, like, I'm going to have to wait because, and I think at this point they're understanding because of the ridiculousness going on. And it sucks, man. I want to fight. They want to put on fights. I've been willing this whole time to get in there. And so I'm a willing participant.
Yeah, I mean, like, coming off the loss to Oliveira, recovering from the injury and the broken orbital bone, and now you're ready to turn the page and go back to 45. It's been, a little over 3 years since you fought at 145. This will be your first time fighting at 45 in the UFC. How excited are you to just sort of turn that page right now? Because I know this has got to be a little bit frustrating for you going from one and then finding out, that there's another fight potentially in the works and you didn't really know about it. And then reports are coming out about it. Has this been kind of a frustrating week for you?
Yeah, it's been a little frustrating, but like I've been through a lot worse, so it's not really that big of a deal. But like, so my first fight in UFC was 45. I didn't miss weight.
Right.
So I had moved up. I was going to go back to 45. They had given me permission after I did mock weight cut videos and I proved to them that I made the weight. I don't know if you remember, I did this whole fucking mock weight cut.
I forgot about that.
And I happened to, at the same time, move to Rufus Sport right after I did that mock weight cut. And Duke was like, no, I don't want you cutting the weight. I was like, all right. Kind of sounded like, all right, I don't have to diet that much anymore. I make 55 easy. And, I'm trusting in my coaches. So I didn't go to 45. I fought at 55 the next, whatever it was, 3 or 4 fights. So but I truly believe I should have went down there the whole time. And now I am. So I have the opportunity to do what I want to do. And that's it.
Do you miss Belal Muhammad right now? Do you still talk to him?
He's a piece of shit. Yeah, of course I talk to him like literally every day, probably 7 times a day.
He's a man.
Yeah, he is a great human being, to say the least. Like, I always use this analogy or whatever because it's the only way to explain how great of a human he is. I told this to Laura Sanko and Bisping and I think Fitzgerald in one of the interviews before my last fight. And they looked at me like I was insane. But Belal is on another level of generous and nice. So the way I explained it was that like if my dick broke, Belal would be like, yeah, you just have my dick. I don't need like that's how great of a human being he is. Like he would give you a shirt. No, take my dick. That's how nice Belal is. Like he will do anything for you if you're his friend. And I would kill and die for Belal. For sure.
Between that story and the prostitution to fight analogy, I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. That's pretty surreal stuff.
I got a lot of tricks on my sleeves.
So ideally, we fight May 16th. If not, there's gonna be plenty of other events. Let's just get back as soon as we can.
I mean, I'm not in I want to fight, but I'm not in a rush. So I'm ready.
Before we let you go, I appreciate you giving me so much time, but I wanted to ask you about this because I saw on Instagram you posted some old footage of an old boxing match, and I looked into it a little bit more and read the post. Like it was from the 1950s. It was your grandfather in a professional boxing match, and the story of how this came to be and who your grandfather actually was is pretty unbelievable. How did you get this footage and talk about who your grandfather was?
So my grandfather's name was Salvatore Ferrello. Grew up in Harlem back in the day. It's now Spanish Harlem, but back then it was just Irish and Italian people. My mother's father, and he was a pro boxer. He was really good. He was 38-3 as a pro. Did really well. Got into some trouble also. Got arrested selling heroin in Detroit. It was like the largest heroin drug bust at the time in Detroit. He did 8 years in Michigan. He fought the whole time in prison too. He was a tough son of a bitch, and apparently, he died when I was 5. But apparently, he was like a really great person. And my mom was like, or I guess my like 3rd or 4th cousin, older guy, messaged me like, "Hey, I'm so-and-so's son or cousin or whatever the hell he said. And I knew your grandfather. He was my uncle. And I have this footage of him. I changed it to format on his computer or whatever he did. And he's like, "You want me to send you the footage?" I was like, "Of course." And he sent it to me and I was like, "Wow, this is really, really cool." And yeah, he was badass, man. He did his thing. His brother's still alive. His younger brother, Carl. His name now is Dushan. This guy is like, he was in movies with Charles Bronson. He did everything. He was in the Korean War. He like owned nightclubs and hair salons in Brazil. Sicilian guy. There's a lot of Sicilians in Brazil. He settled in California, and that's where he lives in Vegas now. He rides horses. He's got like 5 horses. He's 83 years old, and he tells me the greatest stories. So he's my second uncle. It's my mother's first uncle, and it's his younger brother, and he told me stories about him that were pretty incredible. I wish I got to meet him. It's weird how we kind of both had like the same life almost. Both fighters, both adults in criminal enterprise stuff and drugs. And yeah, my mom, like every time I see her, she's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "What?" Like I'll walk down the steps or I'll turn the corner and she's like, "My father, you're my father." I'm like, it's so weird, because I didn't know him. I met him a couple times as a baby, but I don't remember him really. But my grandmother's still alive. She's like 91 now, or 89 or 9. I don't know. She's old as fuck. And she's kind of lost her mind. So it's kind of hard to deal with her now. But her too. Oh my God. I'm like, what? You're Sal. And so it's weird how it's like hereditary almost. But I wish I got to meet him. I'm glad that I got this footage of him. All we have now is pictures and, memories stories that I hear. So, but I hope, he's one of those angels looking down and guiding me. Luckily, he dealt with his problems a little later on in life where I dealt with mine earlier. So hopefully I could stay out of trouble, harm's way.
Yeah, well said. That's an incredible story. I appreciate your time, Jared. I know you got some training to get ready for. I wish we were, talking about more exciting stuff. Like you got a fight locked and loaded, ready to go for May 16th.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, keep me posted. But I did want to have you come on, at least share your perspective on everything that happened, and I'm glad we were able to make this happen. But is there I know you're wearing a Dorino Burns t-shirt right now, but is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap this up?
No. Good, man.
You good?
Yeah,
all right. Awesome, man. Thank you. All the best to you. Hopefully you can get back in there competing sooner rather than later, but keep doing your thing, man.
All right, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate it.